gay stuff. You almost forgot to sing.
I did. I was too busy dancing. And
you did that last time.
Yeah, but you know what I was thinking in my head? I was going to be like, oh, we're wearing similar grey colours today. So that's what I was thinking
We're
about.
colour matched.
And then I went, gay stuff.
We've couple coded.
Oh, God. Are we one of those
We're those couples now. Yeah. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week here at Just Gay Stuff Podcast. I am Jess.
And I'm Lauren.
And this week, I say we're going to get into a fun discussion, but I mean, sometimes...
I don't know if these are fun discussions anymore or they're just discussions.
They're just discussions. Sometimes it's not... Like, I think the idea is fun, but then once we get into the discussion, it's actually quite like...
The content is heavy.
Yeah.
The way we want to run it is fun?
I think. So in saying that, this week's episode, we want to do a little queer edition of Am I the Asshole?
I love this because I've seen so many straight versions of this on like TikTok and
well,
other
you see
podcasts
so many
do like
stories.
Yeah.
It's just stories.
Stories do the Am I the Asshole? Also, I love it because a lot of people have this idea that, especially like the straight people, hetero people, will be like, oh, this doesn't happen in a queer relationship or this doesn't happen. I'm like, they're just people. Everything happens. Same thing happens.
These Am I the Asshole stories, though, are very queer editioned.
Okay.
And they are very relevant to things that happen in our community.
Right.
So I'm sure many people have read crazy Am I the Asshole stories.
Or listen to them.
Yeah, or listen to them. I wanted to do this episode, honestly, because some of these stories are completely out of this world. And not only did I think that they would be kind of funny to share, but I'm going to read them out. And then I want you to tell me, in your opinion, is the person the asshole?
Or is the other person the asshole?
Yeah. And so then I thought we'll tell the story and then we'll discuss who the asshole actually is.
Okay, I gotcha.
Okay, so let's not mess around anymore. I want to jump right into this because, you know, storytelling is our favourite thing to do.
Give me the story time.
Okay, so this is the first story. Am I the asshole for telling my son that he is obviously gay?
Ooh.
Okay, my son, who is 17, has apparently been in the closet for the past 7 months. My son is fairly masculine and straight acting. However, he's obviously had a boyfriend for the past 7 months. He sometimes baby talks to this boy, hugs him all the time, has called him handsome, shares clothes with him, sits way too close to each other to the point where they're basically cuddling. He closes his bedroom door when with him, but not with any other friends. He sees him almost every day, buys him gifts, and for the past 7 months, he has really improved his appearance and always smells great. He's fixed his hair really nice, dresses nicely, among other things. Today, I asked my son if he was going to invite his boyfriend on our trip, and he got awkward and said, "That's not funny." I asked what he meant, and he said, "I'm straight, that's not funny." I laughed, and when I realized he was serious, I started laughing even harder. I told him it was very obvious he was in a relationship with this guy and did a terrible job of hiding it. He got emotional and started asking me not to tell his dad, but my husband already knows. Like I said, it was obvious. My son got upset saying I outed him when he wasn't ready. He hasn't said a word to me in a couple of days. Am I the asshole?
Yes, in a way you are the asshole, but I can understand why you were trying to make light of it and be accepting. Like it's an accepting way, but you are the asshole in the fact that we've had conversations before where people have outed people and they're not ready to
people out of the closet.
drag people out and they're not quite ready. Like you don't know what home life is. And I think people forget that not even home life or environment, it's your own self journey. Like what is he struggling with internally, or you don't know what goes on at school or
and
whatnot.
I suppose people can see things from the outside that people in a situation don't even realise.
Also, you don't know whether he's gay. He could have been bisexual.
Yeah, but he clearly was saying he was straight.
Yeah.
So he's obviously not ready for that leap of a new label, which is fine.
I think that's where it comes from. It's suddenly the label and the pressure that comes with it, unfortunately, because
you can know who you are, but you might not want someone else to know who you are.
yeah, you're not ready for that.
And that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
So was the mum the asshole in this story?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I think
Do
it
you
was
think
the
so?
laughing. I think it was the laughing.
Yeah.
You know how she said, oh, I laughed because it's so obvious that he's gay, and then him trying to tell me he was straight, oh, it just made me laugh even harder. Have you ever been in that position where you're trying to convince someone of something and they're just like taking the piss out of you?
Yeah.
I can imagine the built up frustration from that.
And if you think about how nervous this person would have been, like, you see it in the way he said, oh, don't tell dad, even though, yes, the dad probably noticed signs as well, but it's such a big thing. And I think for men, especially when they're made to feel masculine and yada, yada, of course, their dad suddenly knowing is such a huge ordeal. So for her to suddenly be like, oh, well, like, it's obvious we already knew.
I think the silver lining of this situation is clearly he has two parents that are loving and accepting.
Of course.
So maybe they should have just waited until he was ready to come to the party. Like maybe she should have said, are you going to invite your friend, and not put the boyfriend label on him?
Yeah. Friend or something.
Are you going to invite
like,
your friend?
Yeah.
I know how close you are, so are you going to invite him?
Or he's
Best
like your
friend.
best friend.
Yeah.
Really, really good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. To answer that, I think, yes, a little bit was the asshole, but not like a crazy am I the asshole story. I think it's just, as we've said before, it's everyone's own self-discovery journey.
Mm-hmm.
And like I had people when I eventually came out and said, oh, I'm gay, everybody's like, duh.
Yeah.
Like, so I was like,
and sometimes I hate that too.
Yeah.
People dragging you out or like labeling you before you're ready. I had a family member, kind of not direct family member, but said to me, oh, I always knew you were a lesbian. And that like really hurt me.
Is that also why you dislike the word lesbian?
Well, I just dislike that word in general anyway, because I think it's such a
derogatory term.
Yeah, I've said it before. You know, it's always like, ooh, she's a lesbian. It's never like, oh, she's a lesbian. Like, oh my God. It's like, oh, she's a lesbian.
Yeah.
You know, anyway.
Yeah. Next one.
Okay, so the mum was a bit asshole-ish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a tiny asshole, not a large asshole.
Yeah. We all have one. Okay. Story number 2. Am I the asshole for not telling my girlfriend that my parents are gay?
Oh.
I'm a 25-year-old guy and I have 2 parents, my birth dad and his partner, who I've always considered my dad just as much as him.
Yeah.
And I call him Pops.
Cute.
My birth dad was married to my mum for a few years and then she left my dad and they ended up divorcing. I don't really know where my mum is. She's pretty much been out of the picture for the majority of my life. So Dad, Pops and I are super close. They are the best parents any child could ask for. I love them both and they have always loved me. My dad introduced me to Pops when I was a little boy and they had told me they were in a relationship and I was all for it because I had seen my dad become lonely and sad when he was single. So seeing the fact that my dad loved someone and had a life partner made me super happy.
And he was young, so kids are so much more accepting.
Yeah, kids are so accepting. They haven't had hate bred on them, you know? Well, Pops and Dad got married and we've been living an amazing life. I'm probably more close to Pops than my biological dad, but I love them both equally and I'm blessed to have them as parents. For a few months, I've been dating a girl. Let's call her Casey.
Cute.
Who's the same age as me, 25. I thought she's pretty cute and I really liked her. She told me after this amount of time that her parents really wanted to meet my parents and she thought that we should all have a nice dinner. I told my folks straight away and was excited for our families to meet.
Yeah.
Friday night, Casey and her family show up at my house. Casey comes in first while her parents are parking the car. My Pops greets her at the door and welcomes her in. She shakes his hand and then she sees my dad come out of the kitchen with a hot tray to put down on the table. And she says, "Who's he?" And I said, "Oh, that's my dad." She said, "But I thought this guy was your dad," referring to my Pops. I said, "Yeah, they're both my dads. They're my parents." She pulls me to the side straight away and says, "I didn't know your parents are gay. Oh my God, why didn't you tell me?" I genuinely didn't know why it would be an issue at all. I figured because she's dating me and not my parents, why would it be an issue? But I guess it's a concern for her. Her parents came to the door after they parked the car and Casey yells, "Let's leave," and they left. I told my parents, "I'm sorry," and they said, "Don't worry, this is nothing new."
Oh, that's so sad.
And then we all sat down and enjoyed a great dinner. So am I the arsehole for not telling my girlfriend about my gay dads? She's saying I lied, but I didn't.
No, your girlfriend, very short-term girlfriend, is the arsehole.
Yeah, I'm like, your girlfriend is the arsehole.
Your girlfriend is the arsehole.
Let's debrief.
I think, yeah, I don't know. One, I don't think you lied. You said parents. And also, if she's genuinely serious about getting to know you and date you, isn't that like one of the first questions you ask? Like, do you have a mum, dad, blah, blah, blah? Wouldn't you have that whole conversation?
Well, yeah, if you've been together for a few months or seeing each other, if she has never extended that olive branch to get to know what your family is like or
That
your
says
family
so much
life.
about her than
Yeah.
you. She's the arsehole. And I think that's rude that she was the one that was pressuring the meeting of the parents getting together.
I also think she's the asshole for not actually staying for the dinner.
That too. I think she's the asshole for that. But then you're like, what were her parents like? What was her upbringing?
Yeah, like maybe they're super
super
religious.
religious. And she was like, oh no, I can't deal with
Still,
this.
I think it's rude because then you're not opening yourself up to meeting genuinely lovely people and you're cutting that section of your social life out and for the sake of your kids having a great
Yeah.
life together.
But then I also think that's her being like closed off, like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah.
Because she didn't even like extend that olive branch to find out more about you. You and I had such a serious conversation like from our
Very
first,
first date. Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't go like, oh, what colour, your mum this, your mum
Not
that.
everyone's that deep though.
So, yeah, we had trauma bonding to do that. So yes, she was the
she
asshole.
was
You
the
were
arsehole.
not.
You were not the asshole. She was the asshole. What a bitch.
Yeah, I didn't like that one.
Okay, the next one. Am I the asshole for telling my husband that our son was gay?
Ooh, controversial.
I entered my son's room because I was doing laundry and planning on washing my son's clothes. My son had a friend stay the night, so I knocked to see if they were both awake and waited for a response. When I got no response, I entered my son's room to find him and his friend, both 15 years old, cuddling in my son's bed. I decided not to wake them up and I discussed with my husband the possibility that our son might be gay. While I initially agreed with my husband's suggestion to approach our son when his friend leaves, I later decided that we should just wait until our son was comfortable sharing this with us. My husband argued, saying, "What if he never tells us?" I said, "Well, if he never tells us, then he probably isn't gay." I told him that we should just let our son know that we'll love him regardless and leave it at that. However, my husband went against our agreement and questioned our son about his sexual orientation while I was driving his friend home. When I returned home, my son was in tears, yelling and accusing me of outing him. I was confused and told my son that I didn't know what he was talking about. My son told me while he was crying that his father revealed what I saw and basically coerced him into coming out before he was ready. My son asked me why I would tell his father and why would I enter his room without his permission. I started crying and told my son that I was sorry. I was only doing what I did every other weekend and washing his clothes and that I love him and accept him no matter what. My son remained distant and is now refusing to speak to me and his father. When I confronted my husband, I told him that I was angry that he threw me under the bus. He claimed he didn't mean any harm, only shared what I mentioned to our son, hoping it'll make him comfortable about coming out to us. Despite his pleas for forgiveness, I can't help but feel anger towards him, knowing that my son is now feeling hatred for me when I tried to prevent him feeling like this. My husband argues that blaming him for our son's emotions is unfair and told me our son is only going through an emotional phase that will pass. Despite him begging for my son and my forgiveness, telling us that he meant no harm, I'm torn between forgiving him because I blame him for causing our son to be angry with me. So am I the asshole for telling my husband in the first place, or is my husband the asshole?
This is an interesting one because I feel like there's different things. Like, I'm not a mother, but I can understand from a mother's point of view where she's not really the asshole. The only way that she would be an asshole is it's a bit weird that, yes, at the 15 years old you enter, like, what time of the morning is it?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, you don't know. Entering the room and not waiting, like, I understand getting the washing
We
done.
only have circumstantial evidence.
Yeah,
here.
I understand you need to get the washing done, but surely you could have waited till your son got up or something.
Well, she says she does this every week.
Yeah, I know.
So you would have to imagine that every week, regardless if he is awake or asleep, she goes in and grabs his clothes.
Yeah, okay. Well, then if you knew that your husband would be the one to blab, maybe then you're the asshole for then replaying that. But I don't think that you are the asshole. I think your husband is the asshole for not listening to you when you said, oh, I think our son might be this way, but let's just let him come to us when he's ready. And your husband going against your wishes makes him the asshole.
I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I think the husband is the asshole for telling the son after they agreed not to speak to him yet. Like, they
Yeah.
mutually agreed as a unit, as a married couple, that they were going to let the son come to them. And then the dad went against that, and not only went against it, but was like, oh, your mum told me she saw.
Yeah, so she was automatically thrown under the bus.
Yeah, like she
because
said.
how else would he
He
know?
have known,
Yeah.
exactly.
So the dad is the asshole in the situation.
I think
the
so.
husband is the asshole in the situation, not the woman. Because I can understand if that's your routine and you go in and you have concern. As a parent, you'd have concern, especially being in a society that we live in. You want to make sure everyone's okay and everyone's happy.
I also think maybe she could have waited because he had a friend over, but if she didn't know anything out of the ordinary, like if she didn't know he was gay or queer or whatever, she wouldn't have suspected anything. So she just went in thinking, oh, they'll just be two boys asleep.
Asleep, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, to answer that one, the husband is the asshole for, I guess, essentially getting that son to come out before he was ready. Didn't allow him to be on his own self-discovery journey. And the most terrifying people that you do tell are your parents to begin with, because you've got to live under the same roof as them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that doesn't always work out the best.
Yep.
So the dad is the asshole.
Yep, I agree. I think your husband was the asshole for this one.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Am I the asshole for not telling my friends that I'm a lesbian? I started university and I quickly made an amazing friends group. We were all really close and hung out a lot on weekends, weekdays, and random nights out. A week ago, I finally felt comfortable enough to tell one of my friends that I was a lesbian. I've known that I'm a lesbian since I was about 12, but I was too scared to come out to anyone, so she was the first person that I told. Even my parents don't know. So this was the very first time I'd ever come out. My friend was silent for a long time, and then she told me that it was terrible that I hadn't been upfront when we met. She said that she would have acted differently if she'd known I was attracted to women. She wouldn't have changed in front of me or gone to the toilet with me in the club. It's true that I've been with my friends when they were getting changed in their underwear, but I have never stared or acted in a predatory or creepy way. They are my best friends. 2 of my friends have blocked me since I came out. Apparently, they assumed that I hid the fact I was a lesbian so that I could act like a straight girl and creep on them. Am I the asshole for not being upfront?
No, you are not. Your friends are the assholes and they are not really your friends. First of all, this is the number one thing that I hate about this stereotype that lesbians get. Just because you're a lesbian doesn't mean you're attracted to every single woman that you see. That's like me coming out to someone and then someone be like, oh, but don't hit on me. You're not my fucking type, man.
Yeah. I don't care that you're gay. I just don't want you to hit on me.
Don't hit on me. You've got some tickets on yourself because I'm not attracted to you, bro.
Yeah. It's the same as like, is every straight woman attracted to every man?
No.
Like, no, not at all.
Everybody has different like types of attraction to different people. So no, those friends who were clearly not really your friends were the assholes. And I can understand from your point of view why you wouldn't want to be upfront. Still, in today's society, the queer community are facing such discrimination. So of course you're going to be a little cautious.
But also, if you're in a friendship group and you haven't come out to those friends and you don't know those people straight away, you don't know if they are safe people.
That's what I mean. You're cautious.
And so obviously she thought that this friend was a safe enough person to come out to, and then this friend has let her down. So she is not the asshole. That
the friend was
is the asshole.
And that's why I'm saying they weren't really your friends. I hope that this person then did end up finding their own tribe and community.
Also, and then to insinuate that she only befriended them to be able to creep on them in their underwear, that's disgusting.
That is disgusting.
Yeah, because that OP is correct when she says that is predatory behavior.
Yeah, and that just reinforces what all the theories that people come up with, like how, the queers are only predators and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's not true. Go to the church. That's where all the predators are.
Also, you have to sit back and think that maybe these people are not the best friends for you if this is how they're going to treat you after you've revealed such like an intimate part of yourself in hopes of being accepted
and safe. Yeah.
They're not accepting you.
And then like we've often said, sometimes...
So they're not good people.
No, they're not. And like we've always said, sometimes the people who most against or most homophobic are often projecting their own emotional trauma.
There's some internalized stuff
homophobia going on. So really...
Yeah.
They the assholes.
Yeah. So you were not the asshole. You were not keeping secrets. You were literally just biding your time to see if it was safe enough for you to come out to these people. And when you did think it was safe, they showed you their true colors, and obviously it was not.
No, it wasn't good.
All right, the next one. Am I the asshole for not warning my classmate that my friend is a lesbian and letting him be publicly humiliated?
Interesting.
I'm part of a theatre group.
Standard for all queer people. The theatre is the most fluid and accepting place ever.
Yep. I'm part of a theatre group with a range of different ages of people. My best friend and I are the oldest girls in the class, both 19. One rehearsal evening, my best friend stayed home sick, and a guy in our class took that as an opportunity to ask me a few questions about her. We talked a little before, and we're kind of friends. He's older than us, he's 22. He asked a bunch of weird questions, nothing sexual, just questions about my friend's hobbies and interests. I gave vague but honest answers. Then he asked if she was single, and that's when I caught on that he was sussing it out to ask her out.
Oh.
My bestie is a lesbian.
Right.
And while she doesn't try to hide this fact, she also isn't super open about it. Even though we're in the theatre group and most people are super accepting and fluid,
Amen.
I didn't want to out her, but I didn't want her to have to deal with this rando. I ended up just telling him that he's definitely not her type, hoping that he got the hint. He did not.
I know.
Also, you're expecting like a straight dude to get the hint.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. You need to like spell
Also,
that shit out.
I was going to say, you got to be direct
You need
with
to
men.
spell that shit out, bro. So next rehearsal, at the very end before anyone left, he made a giant gesture in front of everybody, got down on one knee to ask her out.
Oh my God, that's hectic.
Theatre kids, Jesus.
That's even hectic for theatre kids.
The whole group was silent for a moment before she said sorry, she wasn't interested.
Oh, that poor guy.
This guy was super bummed and he wasn't taking no for an answer. There's like the first red flag anyway.
Yeah.
He kept asking her why he wasn't good enough for her, and he kept promising that he was a really good guy. My friend ended up telling him in front of everyone that she wasn't interested because she was a lesbian. Well, this guy was clearly embarrassed by that and he ran out, but not before shouting at me in front of everyone and telling me it's my fault because I should have told him. At first, I was sure that I was in the right, but am I actually the asshole for not being upfront with him and saving him the heartache?
Yeah, you kind of are.
Do you reckon?
I do. I think the only reason I think that she is the asshole is because I think she didn't just embarrass one person. She embarrassed her friend at the same time.
I
in the
disagree.
Oh, fisticuffs time.
Yeah,
Bring it up. Why?
I disagree because I think if he had have taken the no for the answer in the beginning, it wouldn't matter about her sexuality.
True. But she didn't explain it either, and it's a man.
No, but you shouldn't have to continuously show up and explain yourself as to why you've made a decision.
Yeah.
If somebody is asking you in a social setting, do you want to do this? And your answer is no, you shouldn't have to then be swayed or convince someone why that answer is no.
But I think because the friend first said, oh, she's not your type, he was then like, oh, are you sure, kind of thing.
But then he could have asked her why. And like, it wasn't the friend. I don't think the friend is the asshole. I think she was trying to be a good friend by not outing her friend in a space where, yes, it's fluid and yes, it's nice and yes, everyone doesn't care or whatever. But her friend obviously isn't out to the whole class.
Yeah.
And this guy clearly didn't know. So she was trying to be a good friend by keeping her friend's personal life personal. And then she hinted, and I know that a lot of guys don't get the hints. I get that. She hinted and said, oh, I don't think she's going to be interested. You're really not her type, you know. And then I think if he had have just accepted the friend's no, I'm not interested on the get-go, he wouldn't have been embarrassed.
That's true. Okay. Well, I see your viewpoint. I do think, I think he's the asshole for not listening to the no in the first place.
Yes, me too.
But, yeah.
I think him not taking the no for the answer is showing a red flag of why you wouldn't want to date that person in the first place.
That's true.
And then acting like a whinging prick, being like, it's your fault that I'm embarrassed and you've hurt my feelings.
That's the domestic violence waiting to happen
well,
right
this
there.
is just where, like, people in general...
Coercive control happening.
People in general need to know how to handle rejection because in life, we're not always going to get what we want.
Yeah.
And I feel like we as a society have not been brought up to handle that.
No, we haven't. And with a lot of people, that comes from their upbringing and their environment of upbringing. So if you're known as someone who always get what you want and the minute you have rejection, of course, you're going to spit the dumbing,
and
so
I get
to speak.
it. We have openly said we don't have kids yet.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one of those things where you never want to see your kid sad, but I think it's important that you teach your kid that you're not always going to get your way because this is what it can develop into.
But that's what real life is like. You're not always going to get your way.
100%. Yeah. Okay. The next story. Am I the asshole for taking my straight female friends out to a lesbian bar because they always make me go to gay bars?
I'm very curious about this because my answer would be no, even though I'm a lesbian. But when I identified as bisexual or straight, I'd be like, no, I'm keen.
Okay, I'm a 26-year-old male and I am straight.
Oh.
I have a group of friends with a few more women in it than men, and we go out a couple of nights a week. Every time we go out, the girls all insist we end up at a gay club at the end of the night. To be clear, I don't normally mind, but it's getting excessive. I can't remember the last time they didn't insist we go, and lately I've been getting hit on a lot more, and some of the drunk guys at the bars are getting very handsy. It's gotten uncomfortable at this point, so I've started leaving early to go home or hang out with other friends. Some of the other guys in our group feel the same way. I tried to bring it up, but they don't listen and accuse me of acting homophobic, which I am not. My sister is bi and suggested our city has a lesbian bar and I should take them there to see how they react. To be clear, this bar does openly welcome straight and cisgendered people, so we weren't violating their space, something that I care about a lot. Anyway, there was a basketball game last night and this bar sets up a game night whenever our local NBA team is playing. I suggested we go there to watch the game and most of the group came along. They immediately got really uncomfortable when other women started flirting with them at the bar and offering to buy them drinks. It lasted about an hour before all the girls took off. A couple of the other guys and I actually ended up staying. The women there were all really cool and we made some new friends. The group chat this morning has been a big argument. The girls all say it was fucked up that we took them there. I told them to stop acting homophobic. The other guys in the chat are mostly supporting me and saying they have no leg to stand on since we always constantly agree to join them at gay clubs and never complain. I actually want to start going there regularly on game nights. It's a really fun atmosphere and everyone we met there was awesome. Am I the arsehole for making them go to the lesbian bar?
Nah. You're
No.
not the asshole at all. I think those girls are the assholes.
I think they're homophobic.
I think they're homophobic too. I'm like, you can't be wanting to go to a gay club with just all men and be able to enjoy it and not go to a lesbian bar and also enjoy it at the same time.
Let's break this down. What do you think is the real reason why they wanted to go to a gay guy club?
To not get hit on by men.
Exactly. So their whole shtick was they were going to go to the gay club because they don't want unwanted attention from straight men.
But unfortunately, this male person writing this story was getting that unnecessary male attention, but was still going for the good of the group and the good of the friends. And yes, he even chose to leave early when there was times, but to make it even or equal. Of course, like anyone who's feeling objectified is going to have the same reaction.
I just love that, like, they were calling him homophobic, but now he's like, he really wants to stay at the lesbian bar because he's like, this place is awesome and they're all really cool. So no, you're not the asshole.
You're not the asshole at all.
I think your female friends in your group are the asshole because they've got double standards.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's double standards. It's suddenly having the attention from the same sex, so they're not used to being objectified that way. But if they were objectified by a man, sure, whatever.
But maybe not because that's why they were going to the gay bar.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a hard one, but yeah, I definitely
But
don't
you're
think...
not the asshole.
Yeah, I definitely don't
I think
he's
you
the
were trying
asshole.
to make it like a safe, even nights out for both groups of the party. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I was like, yeah, no, you're not the asshole. They are.
Yep, I agree. All right, next story. Am I the asshole for being distant with my brother-in-law ever since he came out to me as gay? Just reading the title of this makes me instantly say yes.
It's going to be spicy.
Okay, so let's get into the story. I'm 28 and my wife is 27 and her family are from Spain.
Español.
Espanol. Her parents and her 3 siblings all live in the US with us, with their respective families. Everyone but Bruno, her youngest brother, is married. As they're from a different culture, they do some stuff that we would consider a bit weird. One of which is giving a kiss on the cheek as a hello. I've grown used to it, so I do it too, and I didn't mind until now.
I think that's a very European thing
It
to
is
do,
very
a
European.
kiss on the cheek.
And why is that like weird? It
I
shouldn't
don't
be
know.
weird or gendered or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like, why is it okay for 2 women to do that, but men can't do that? It
I
doesn't
don't
matter. I digress. Around 2 months ago, Bruno called the whole family to tell us that he's gay. Now, I don't hate gay people and I never thought myself to be a homophobe. I congratulated Bruno, as did everyone else. We were having a good time at family gatherings, and that's when my problem came up. Bruno said in front of everyone that if I wasn't married to his sister, he would jump on me. Everyone laughed, but it was certainly uncomfortable for me. Later, he doubled it down by saying I have a cute ass. Might I add that my wife's sister's husband was there too, and Bruno said nothing to him, only me.
Wow.
When my wife and I came back home, I tried speaking about how uncomfortable his joke made me feel, but she just brushed it off by saying that Bruno always makes jokes like that. She didn't see why it's now different. Next time we saw each other, which was soon after that because her family is very close and it was at our home, Bruno had come to pick up my eldest 2 kids and take them off to a baseball game. When I opened the door, Bruno said hi and then leaned in to kiss me. I realize now that he kissed me too close to my lips rather than my cheek. After that, wherever we saw each other, I kind of just pretended to be sick or to be busy so I can shake his hand as a hi. Apparently, Bruno had noticed this because yesterday my wife came up to me and asked me if he had done something wrong to make me angry at him. She told me Bruno has seen me off every time he's near and wants to know if he should apologize for something. I told her the same thing that I told her before, plus the kissing thing. She told me that I'm exaggerating. Bruno was just joking and such. I've tried telling her that it feels very weird that my brother-in-law would tell me he likes me and would pursue a relationship with me if I wasn't already family. I've tried saying that I would talk to Bruno about this, but she told me not to do it. She told me that my reasons to not give him a kiss are because I'm homophobic. She also told me she's very disappointed. Am I the asshole here?
That's a complicated one.
Do you know,
I don't think you are.
I judged.
You did.
I
You judged
judged.
too soon.
I did.
I do not think that OP is the asshole.
I don't think so either.
I think it's the wife because I think it's about communication. So I think if the husband was able to talk to the brother-in-law and say, hey, look, this made me really uncomfortable. And you don't know like how this person was, whether they're quite flamboyant. And, as Europeans and Espanol people, they're quite like life and love and all of this is very over the top.
Very big, very fluffy.
It's very big and fluffy. So, it could just be his personality. But if you were able to have that conversation and say, hey, look, I know this is how you are. These little comments and this made me uncomfortable. Can we just not kind of thing?
I also think if he was making the same jokes to other people, it would be less like forceful on this person.
Yeah.
So I really don't think you are the asshole.
No, I don't think you are.
I think you just need to say that, it's not because you're gay. It's just like these like little
I think the
swipes.
I think the wife is the asshole for saying that he's suddenly a homophobic and that's why he didn't want to kiss, because that's like degrading your whole character. I was like, that's not the truth.
I mean, let's be honest. Even in the queer space, have you ever been made uncomfortable by a fellow queer person?
Yes.
I have.
Yeah.
I was at uni once and I was putting my guitar away in a case and this girl walked up to me and like, clearly I'm not homophobic, like I'm fucking gay.
Yeah.
But she was like, oh, while you're down there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, like that's uncomfortable for me. Yeah. And like I didn't say anything at the time, but I understand what this guy is saying. He's saying like, I'm not homophobic. I'm just saying that like,
it's
this is too much. Yeah.
Sometimes some people are full on, especially when it comes to, being different cultures, different personalities, different things. It's all about communication. You just go, hold up.
And look, it could 100% be being a joke, but sometimes those jokes do cross the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you know what? I judged you way too soon.
Jess is sorry for judging before the story was read.
I am totally sorry for that. Sorry.
You are not the asshole.
Okay. We've got one more story in store. Okay. So this last one is a bit of an interesting
last one. I'm ready.
We might have another fisticuffs moment.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Am I the arsehole for being offended when my brother's friend asked if I was gay? I'm sharing a situation that's been bothering me and I'm looking for your perspective on whether I might be in the wrong. Growing up, I, 15, was constantly bullied through all of my primary and high school about being gay, even though I'm not. The constant bullying I faced made me insecure, leading me to actively avoid anything that might be perceived as too feminine or make sure I wasn't faced with mockery. Now, the recent incident unfolded when my brother and his friend, both 17, were in my brother's room. I entered the room to get my charger that my brother had been using. However, when I entered my brother's room, his friend looked at me without even a greeting or introduction and asked, "Are you gay?" That kind of pissed me off because what happened to hi, hello? Anyway, I told him I wasn't gay and asked him why he thought I was. His response was a vibe he picked up on. This honestly left me genuinely upset. Adding to the fuel, both my brother and his friend burst into laughter at which only fueled my frustration more. After my brother's friend left the house, my brother came into my room and asked me if I was still upset. I told him a little bit, and then he told me it was just a question and if I didn't want to be perceived as gay, then I needed to stop acting like a little bitch. I have a problem with that.
Me too.
What my brother said to me struck a nerve, so I decided to ask my online friend for advice. When I reached out to her, it was because she happens to be a lesbian and I thought she could add some input. However, her take on the situation left me conflicted. According to her, my reaction was very homophobic, and she suggested that my sensitivity might imply that I have some internalized homophobia. I told her that I wasn't closeted, but she urged me to work on myself and stop letting such things bother me. Am I the asshole?
I have such interesting feelings on this one about multiple people within the story.
Yeah, okay, well, you go first.
I think, my first thing is, I don't think you're the asshole. I think your brother is an asshole.
Yeah.
I do agree. Like, because you don't know the circumstance. You know, like boys being boys.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my brother's gay, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So you don't know whether like that's the type of situation that came on. And my other thought is like, well, if the friend is asking, if he's saying he's picked up a vibe, I think that's his internalized homophobia or something going on, being like,
or it's like him and the brother's inside joke that they're going to take the piss out of his brother and be like, are you gay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's a serious thing and goes, oh, I caught a vibe. How did you catch the vibe, man?
Yeah.
Like, it takes one to know one, bro.
Totally.
And then I think that your friend, internet friend, didn't handle this situation very well, because I don't think you're homophobic or internalized homophobia for being offended or reacting this way. I think whether you have feelings that way and you're not ready to be out, like we've said, everything's your own self-discovery journey.
Yeah.
So I think maybe she doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if what I'm going to say really adds to anything.
Okay, go on.
Because as we have mentioned on the podcast before, I have had internalized homophobia before. But what I do want to say is being out and like what I consider proud at the moment. For example, I played a wedding once and I wore a dress to this wedding and like I was just part of the band. Like I knew no one there, whatever. And I went to the bar to get a drink after we'd finished. And this girl came up to me straight away and was like, are you gay? And I'm just like...
That's such an odd thing to ask someone, isn't it?
I know. And I feel like when you're not directly friends with somebody, I feel like that can come across as, what's the word? Like, I don't believe I still have any internalized
like prejudice
homophobia.
or asshole-ish.
It's just like uncalled for.
Yeah. Well, I get that. That's why I think
I'm still offended by it.
Yeah.
But it's like, why am I offended by asking if someone's asking if I'm
because
gay?
you don't turn around and go, hey, are you straight?
Yeah,
That's
true,
what it is.
true.
It's the double standard situation. So, of course, this guy's going to be offended when the friend is asking, hey, are you gay? Or not even a hey, it's just straight up, are you gay?
This is why I'm like, because I know I've dealt with internalized homophobia before. I don't know if like my reaction is the same as this guy's reaction, because I would say it's not internalized homophobia, but like maybe deep down somewhere I still have a little bit of that. Like I think it's because I don't want people to perceive like a specific person looks queer or looks like this, so they must be gay.
I don't know if they would say that's internalized homophobia. I think that's just stereotyped society.
Like a social issue?
Yeah, it's a social issue. I don't think
maybe.
it's your own internalized homophobia.
I don't know.
So to answer this guy's thing, I do not believe you are the asshole. Well, I learnt a lot from these crazy Am I the Asshole stories.
I feel like it kind of made us really like pick apart a few issues.
Yeah, and the fact that we didn't agree on all of them.
Yeah.
What does it say about us?
I judged a bit.
You did.
Yeah, that was harsh on my part. Sorry. But you know what? I think it goes to show that when you're given complete context of someone's situation, your view can change.
And I think that's what people forget, and that's probably where they're saying, we should have said that in our sayings episode, is don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, yeah, but that's not an Australian
It's not
slang.
an Australian one, yeah.
Yeah.
No. But that's the same thing. Don't judge a book by its cover. You never know what someone's going through or
That's
how
it.
the situation
Morphs into a problem.
Yeah, or how the situation came about. So, you only ever see the reaction. It's the same as like when you're playing soccer, right? The ref might not see the other team pulling on you and pushing you. They just see you whack them down because they've aggravated you so much.
Yeah, true.
So they're only seeing that. So we've only seen a little tiny pinpoint.
Or it's like the stories about the dogs biting the children, but you don't hear about how the children were pulling their ears and the tail
and aggravating and hurting them. So it's the same thing.
Yeah.
You don't know what someone's going through. Be kind to people.
Yeah.
Don't out someone until they're ready to out themselves.
And do you have an Am I the Asshole story? Because if you do, write it in to justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to read it, especially if it's still like up in the air if you're thinking, am I still the arsehole?
Yeah,
it could be from like 10 years ago.
We might be able to answer some of those or
might
give
be able
our
to.
own opinions anyways.
I will definitely give an opinion. That's my hobby.
And please let us know who you thought were the assholes in this story. Did you have the same opinions as me, or did
Yes.
you have the same opinions as Jess?
Yes.
So let
We'd
us know.
love to hear it. We'd love to hear it. All right. Well, until next time,
I guess you better remember to
stay gay, motherfuckers.
I'm talking about, you're talking about, we're talking about just gay stuff.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Just Gay Stuff. Make sure to follow us at Just Gay Stuff Podcast on all your socials and write to us with your stories at justgaystuffpodcast@gmail.com.